Live from the Scripps Studios, this is 10 News.
And good evening. Graduating seniors will get the end of the year celebration they have been looking forward to, but with some modifications. Today, county leaders said that drive-through or drive-up graduations are allowed, but only if public health guidance is followed.
Those are allowable and can proceed provided there's no exiting of the vehicle. There's no opening of snack bars, bookstores, or any type of concession stand. There's no opening of restrooms. There are no spectators, and only members of the same household may be in the vehicle together. Dr. Wooten, our public health team, has been in contact with school districts surrounding some of those individual things they would like to do, and she has issued that guidance.
Supervisor Fletcher says that events like drive-up church services, protests, and other graduation-type events are also allowed, but again, only if people follow public health guidance. Here are the latest numbers from the county tonight. 117 new cases were reported today. That brings our total to 5,278. There are also 5 new deaths. That brings that total to 194. But there are more than 3,100 confirmed recoveries. The number of people who have died nationally from the coronavirus is now 84,000. Still, many states are opening back up, some more quickly than others. My co-anchor Kimberly Hunt has the latest on the guidance from the government to businesses all around the country. Kim.
Steve, 30 states have already opened their economies. This as the CDC's reopening report hasn't been officially released. The Trump administration held it back, saying that it wasn't approved by the director of the CDC. That director coming out and saying that it was released prematurely. And as ABC's Marcy Gonzalez reports, in the meantime, states are lifting their restrictions with differing levels of success.
The number of new COVID-19 cases reportedly spiking in several parts of the U.S., including Tennessee, Iowa, and Kentucky, according to an internal government document, as stay-at-home orders are eased across much of the country. And now CDC documents that were supposed to provide guidance on ways communities and businesses can safely reopen are being held back by the White House, the decision facing criticism on Capitol Hill.
America needs and must have the candid guidance of our best scientists, unfiltered, unedited, uncensored by President Trump or his political minions.
The head of the CDC saying the guidance will be released soon, as President Trump says he disagrees with this warning from Dr. Anthony Fauci about states reopening without meeting federal guidelines.
There is a real risk that you will trigger an outbreak that you may not be able to control.
Look, he wants to play all sides of the equation. I was surprised by his answer, actually, because, it's just, to me, it's not an acceptable answer, especially when it comes to schools. But I think you should absolutely open the schools. Our country's got to get back, and it's got to get back as soon as possible.
As schools across the country consider how to safely reopen, there are concerns about a growing number of reports of children affected by a rare illness called pediatric multisystem inflammatory syndrome, possibly linked to COVID-19. With 16 states reporting cases, the CDC now preparing a national alert for doctors to help them recognize the symptoms, as 14-year-old Leah's doctor did, possibly saving her life.
I'm very grateful, because I could have been gone. I'm glad I got help right away.
Marcy Gonzalez, ABC News, Los Angeles.
As if coronavirus hasn't disrupted our lives enough, it could also complicate the upcoming fire season. The normal protocol is to head to a local shelter, such as a gym or a rec center, if you don't have a place to stay. But today, state officials said California now has to rethink those plans.
We're looking at evacuation centers being segregated, maybe COVID maybe versus non-COVID. We're looking at possibly using hotel solutions where we have the opportunity to put evacuees in hotels, single rooms, versus congregating in a large sort of like a dormitory or a school gymnasium.
As always, CAL FIRE says the best thing that all of us can do is to prepare our properties and our families for the fire season. Also, federal agents served a search warrant at the home of a congressman out in North Carolina today. This after some controversial stock trades just before COVID-19 hit U.S. shores. Republican Congressman Senator Richard Burr turned over a cell phone as part of the Justice Department's investigation. In February, Burr sold a significant percentage of his stock portfolio just as his committee was receiving daily briefings on COVID-19. And many of those stocks took a real tumble when the stock market plunged, all of that happening 1 week after he sold. Steve?
Many Americans will be looking closely at that case. Kim, thank you. County health officials are at odds with casinos reopening. In fact, the county's top doctor says they are working now with the CDC to prevent casinos from reopening next week. Our 10 News reporter Anthony Pura reached out to a casino owner, and one is now firing back at the county.
Crews have been sanitizing Sycuan Casino Resort as it prepares for a May 20th reopening.
They spray a microbial coating on all surfaces, so slot machines, table games, bars, chairs, and meant to protect that surface from viruses and bacteria.
General Manager Rob Sinelli says safety is their primary focus as they reopen during a pandemic.
We invested in the thermal scanner, so when people walk in, we detect their temperature. If they're shown to have a temperature, we do a second check with a handheld thermometer.
Face coverings will be required and some slot machines will be turned off to encourage distancing. Fewer people will be allowed at table games and the pool and buffet areas will remain closed. Sycuan is one of a handful of casinos planning to reopen next week. Viejas is expected to be the first to allow people back on May 18th.
We are very concerned and we want to make it perfectly clear that we do not agree with the reopening of casinos on May 18th.
The county was critical of the decision during Wednesday's daily coronavirus briefing. The casinos are on tribal land, which falls under federal jurisdiction. The state hasn't said casinos can reopen, and it remains to be seen if the governor can or will intervene.
We feel that the health officer's order does extend to our tribal nations in this particular situation, and we are working with the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention to try to address this issue.
Several tribes sent this joint letter to the governor and the county on Friday announcing their plans to reopen. Sycuan responded to 10 News' request for comment, saying in part, "We disagree with any legal interpretation that allows the county any jurisdiction over activities on a tribal reservation. It is unfortunate the public health officer chose a press conference to share her concerns, as we informed her of a robust plan nearly a week ago, and we have yet to hear a response from her or her office." Anthony Pura, 10 News.
We have some breaking news now. One person is dead tonight after a car crash. This is in National City. Our breaking news tracker was on scene right after that crash around 9 o'clock tonight. A person was walking on Plaza Boulevard and Plaza Entrada when they were hit and killed. The person was detained at the time. We're going to update you with more information as soon as we get it. And now to a breaking news update as well. The search for a girl that prompted an Amber Alert is now over. The CHP has found 5-year-old Victoria Suarez safe, and they arrested her father. Santee residents made their voices heard at tonight's City Council meeting. The majority of them expressed anger and frustration over 2 recent hate incidents. A man and his family, they were recently seen wearing swastika masks at the Food for Less on Cuyamaca Street. They were heard saying that they were protesting the state's lockdown. Well, days earlier, another man was seen wearing what appeared to be a KKK-style hood at the Vons in Santee. So in response tonight, the City Council unanimously passed a motion to expand the city's community-oriented policing committee by at least 4 people to address the issue of intolerance. There are currently 17 people on that committee. Mayor John Minto has 2 specific people in mind, he says, but has not publicly released their names as of yet. The Coronado teenager shot last week during an online sale gone wrong is back home tonight after spending over a week in the hospital. His homecoming, as you can see, brought out dozens in the community to show their support. As our 10 News reporter Laura Acevedo shows us, he still has a long recovery at home.
Riding in an open convertible, Jacob McCanry arrived back home for the first time since being shot in the back.
I shouldn't be here right now. I really shouldn't.
The streets were lined with cheerleaders, friends and family holding signs for the 18-year-old as he pulled in. Jacob speaking out for the first time since the shooting, saying he has a new outlook on life and is grateful to be alive.
Hug those you love extra tight, always. Tell them you love them. And just spread positivity and joy, because the next day, the next minute, the next second, you might not even be here.
McCanry was shot last Monday when an online sale went wrong. Jacob was robbed of the jewelry he was selling. 2 men got away. Because of the COVID-19 restrictions, Jacob hadn't been able to see his parents since the shooting, spending days in the hospital alone. Describing the moment he was able to hug them for the first time.
I just broke down because I didn't know if I'd see him again.
His dad happy to have his son back.
We saw the video today, and the bullet lodged between his spine and his aorta was actually a millimeter from hitting it, and he would have bled to death.
Jacob still has 4 to 6 weeks of recovery physically, but these messages of support left on his front lawn will help.
Navy SEALs have actually reached out that have been wounded in combat, and they're going to talk to him and walk him through the healing process.
When asked if he was angry at whoever did this, he said this.
That's not for me to judge. It's for God.
The family does have a GoFundMe page to help with Jacob's therapy moving forward. It's on our website, 10news.com.